please.
Taoiseach, the days of mass harvesting of turf are over. This is best underscored by the fact that Bord Namona has moved from its traditional brown peat business to become a leading and profitable champion of renewables. Taoiseach, your proposed outright ban on the sale of turf has caused real distress and frustration for rural communities. Your proposal is unfair, unworkable, and should not go ahead. The timing of the proposed ban couldn't be worse, as people are hammered by the cost of living crisis, which has seen energy bills go through the roof and which has put enormous pressure on people's pockets. For many families in rural Ireland, turf is their one affordable way of heating their homes. Their only credible alternative is home heating oil, the price of which, as you know, has doubled in the past year, and yet your government has sat on its hands on this score. Nothing has been done to reduce these extortionate prices. In fact, your actions will drive these costs higher. So it's not hard to see why rural households are so frustrated, because you place them between a rock and a hard place. You will ban the source of fuel on which they depend, while at the same time refusing to tackle the soaring cost of the alternative. How is that fair, Taoiseach? The ban on the sale of turf is a punishment for people who have no alternative way to heat their home, and it will be particularly hard on older people and those on low incomes living in rural communities. Taoiseach, the government's ineptitude in its handling of this proposed ban has been nothing short of astonishing. TDs and ministers at sixes and sevens sowing mass confusion and spreading mixed messages. Over the Easter break, Tánaiste Leo Varadkar and Minister Eamon Ryan rode a merry-go-round of contradictions. Minister Ryan said the ban was going ahead. The Tánaiste then said the ban was being paused. The minister then responded by saying the ban isn't being paused. Government didn't seem to know if it was coming or going. And then on Sunday last, just to muddy the waters even further, Minister Ryan says on radio that the guidelines for the ban are only in draft. And all the while, Taoiseach, your backbenchers, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael TDs in rural areas fall over themselves, telling their constituents that they do not support the proposed ban, one going so far as to call the whole affair daft. They say, or claim, that it's all the work of the Green Party, nothing to do with them. Well, those TDs have their golden opportunity this evening to show the people they represent that they are actually serious. They can put a stop to the turf sale ban by voting for the Sinn Féin motion. Tá plán atá multaigh an rialtas concuss a chur món a dhiail mí chuthram agus do ibrithe. Ní éadach an tam a bheníos massa nuair atá ibrithe agus teaghlaí ag stracail se builí fuinamh atá ag ardú a íoc. Cuireann an cosc seo pianos ar cheaghlaí tuaithe nach bhfuil aon bailach eile acu a dithe a thaobh, agus ní féidir leis an cosc seo dul ar aghaidh. What we need right now is clarity on what exactly has been agreed by Cabinet. Households who rely on turf to heat their home need certainty as to what they face into, and the certainty that you should give, that you must give them, Taoiseach, is to make absolutely clear that this turf sale ban will go no further. And I invite you to make that assurance, give that assurance to those households today.
Thank you very much, Deputy McDonald. Taoiseach, please.
Well, in the first instance, in a wide-ranging presentation, Deputy, you said the government had been doing nothing on the cost of living. I just need to disabuse you of that statement. That's a complete false statement to assert, because of course the government has worked extremely hard and consistently in easing, not by any means mitigating in total, the cost of living increases that have occurred in recent times. Over €2 billion since the budget have now been allocated to try and alleviate pressures on people, and particularly people on fuel allowance. A 55% increase in the fuel allowance from the previous year. We're now paying out about 1,139 this year, given the increases from the 125 lump sum, the 100 that will be paid in the coming weeks, and the increases in the budget. And that's a fairly dramatic increase in fuel allowance by this government in a very short space of time. We've reduced the excise duty on petrol, diesel and green diesel until mid-October, saving motorists between €9 and €12 each time they fill their tank. We've reduced VAT from 13.5% to 9% on gas and electricity bills from the start of May until the end of October, resulting in estimated annual savings of 50 and 70 respectively for households. Households this month are seeing the €200 energy credit appearing on their bills. We will reduce the annual PSO levy of 58 to 0 by October 2022. We reduced caps for multiple children on school transport fees. We've cut public transport fares by 20% until the end of the year, and we'll introduce the young adult card next month, which will reduce fares for young people under 24 by a further 50%. We lowered the threshold for the drug payment scheme to €80 per month, benefiting over 70,000 families. We brought forward the working family payment budget increase announced on Budget Day from the 1st of June to the 1st of April. We launched a national retrofitting scheme with unprecedented grant supports for home energy upgrades and increasing numbers of free energy upgrades for those at risk of energy poverty. And today, the government approved a proposal for the abolition of inpatient charges for children under 16 years of age from July to alleviate the financial burden of statutory hospital charges. And much, much more in terms of work we've done for hauliers. So the idea that we have done nothing is a falsehood to articulate in this House. And there's much more we have done. And on a broader scale, we've engaged in exploratory dialogue with the social partners to deal strategically as a country with the unprecedented increases in energy costs arising from the war on Ukraine and other global issues. In relation to the turf issue, you said it yourself in the beginning, you said it yourself in the opening remarks, that a minority now use turf in our country in respect of their energy needs. And it's important that we protect the rights of people in rural Ireland in terms of turbary rights, and people utilising turf in their own bogs, and traditional practices in turf sharing. They're not being banned at all. And there'll be no restriction on people who own their own bog to use turf in their domestic fire, or people who share turf in regard to neighbours and so forth. There's no ban on the gifting of peat will be introduced for those with rights to harvest sod peat. But what you need to be very careful of, Deputy, the big industry here is the coal industry. That's the big villain of the piece here. Because back in the early 90s, this country, and this was former Minister Mary Harney, introduced a ban on smoky coal, and it was transformative in terms of air quality in this city and other large cities around the country. And I noticed in your presentation, you didn't mention air quality once in your presentation. And it's about time now that people played this fair and down the middle and had a balanced debate about this through the chair. A balanced debate. Because unfortunately, there are parts around the country, areas around the country, which are above WHO levels in terms of poor air quality. And that's not acceptable either. And we have to take that on board. Ireland was above the European Environment Agency reference level for polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, a toxic chemical, in 4 monitoring sites suites due to the burning of... So what I would say to Deputy McDonald, and to all who have influence in Northern Ireland, there is, and Fergus O'Dowd here in this House pointed this out, the amount of smoky coal being exported or being coming into the Republic, now, Taoiseach, no controls, which is damaging health here. We need to deal with that too. Smoky coal is the target here, not turf. And I think there's a responsibility. There is a responsibility on all sides of the House, including Deputy MacDonald, to get off the fence now in terms of what's necessary in terms of the health of people as well.
Please, can I ask members, will members please adhere to the time limits? And we don't need Father Jack either interrupting. Deputy MacDonald, please.
So, of course, fair and balanced debate means that you have to stick to the fact, and the fact is that nothing has been done in respect of home heating oil. That's the fact. So don't attribute falsehoods to me by advancing a falsehood of your own. The cost of home heating oil has more than doubled in the last year, and government has done nothing to intervene. In fact, your course of action, your proposed course of action, will drive the cost of home heating oil up further. To return to the turf ban.
You're paying carbon tax next week.
You see, you accept that what I have said, Taoiseach. You have accepted that the ban, as proposed by Minister Ryan, is utterly wrong, utterly unfair, and will leave people in rural Ireland, particularly older people, particularly people on lower incomes, in a really, really difficult place. So I want to invite you again to clarify that there will be no ban, that this proposed ban, whether it's the finished item or in draft form, is officially from today ditched. And the assurance given to people living in rural Ireland, not alone that they can harvest their own turf, but those that don't have turbary rights can actually access that turf to burn in their grate to heat their homes. That's what we need. We need clarity now. Don't talk in riddles, Taoiseach. Just tell us that this madcap, half-baked, unfair notion, advanced by Eamon Ryan, is now officially ditched.
Thank you.
And if you're not prepared to do that, let me just remind your backbenchers, you will have the opportunity to take your stand this evening by voting in favour of the Sinn Féin motion, which proposes the ditching, the stopping, the halting of this proposed ban in its entirety. That is what we need, Ceann Corley.
We're way over time.
I don't believe in the abolition of the carbon tax. Neither do you, by the way. Neither do you. But that's in your motion. That's in your motion. And neither do you. You say one. You really engage in endless duplicity around this issue. So you call for the abolition of the carbon tax, yet when you do alternative budgets, you factor in the revenue of the carbon tax into your alternative budgets. You then call for stopping any increase in carbon tax. But when we offset the impact of that carbon increase, you still play games. Because the excise duty on kerosene, which is the main home heating oil, is carbon tax. So be honest about it. Be transparent about it. No, but you never call it. You never call it. Deputy Mayor Lou McDonald keeps on saying, excise duty. It's carbon tax on home heating oil. What we've decided to do is take offsetting measures to more than compensate for that increase, which will not impact on people. But the real issue here, which Deputy McDonald has not addressed, is no, it's not actually. It is smoky coal, actually. And the bigger issue is, and Deputy Fergus O'Dowd nailed it here in November 2021 when he said in this style, when he said that we need a major clampdown on cross-border sale of solid fuels, the appalling illegal advertising as well. There's lots of smoky coal coming into the Republic. It shouldn't. The North should ban it as well. The North should deal with it. I have answered you on turf, and we have dealt with it in the counter protection. And what I have said, calm down, please, just calm down. Because I know this is probably, for you, it's manna from heaven. It's the great issue again. Let's kind of hyperbole, exaggerate, and so on like that. But the reality is, I want to clarify the final point. The Deputy knows, all of you know, by the way, all of you know that anything that's been proposed will have no impact this winter. Has that registered? No, but you keep on saying this is not the right time. Has it registered with you? It will not impact this winter in any shape or form. Because it's not been stopped right now. But I've made the point, in any event, it's been made crystal clear that people who have bogs, who normally cut their turf, will continue to be able to do that. They will continue to be able to share that with their neighbours. The traditional practices in rural Ireland will continue in relation to turf. You just need a bit of calm, perspective and balance in all of this, and we can resolve this pragmatically. And not the Sinn Féin position is we'll get on any bandwagon we can get on to win a few votes. That's your position on a continuing basis.
Look, please. Look, we're back in the House after a 2-week recess. I would have thought people would come back more restrained and in a position to conduct their business a bit more efficiently. Now, please, can I remind you that there is time laid out by the House. I don't make up these time restrictions. You do. And if you don't like them, change them. But for as long as the time is laid down, will you please respect the House and respect the time limits? Now,